Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. Thank you so much for tuning in and spending time with us today. I am excited, and I know that you will be too. To talk to our guest today, author Mike Lewis. We're talking to him about his book, How to Find a Good Companion. Now, you're going to love this subtitle. Even among those who have been picked over, called out, damaged, dumped, and left for dead. I was like, I love it. You guys know that I love a book with a really good title. Now, you know what I'd like to do on the show. I want to enlighten you. I want to inspire you. I want to empower you. I want you to be your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. So today, we're going to be fired up about relationships. Again, my guest is author Mike Lewis and his book, How to Find a Good Companion. So you know what I'm going to tell you to do next. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Mr. Mike. Thank you so much for being on today.
Well, thank you, Dr. Angela. I feel fortunate to have this talking session with someone as special as you.
Aw, thank you so much for that. I really and truly appreciate that. You know, I'm a firm believer of people walking the path that God has called them to walk. So I love this part of what I do. So thank you so much for being on and sharing this morning with me today. Now, you are a man that has accomplished quite a lot in your 60 years of being here on this earth. You have worked for a defense corporation. You've worked for a chemical corporation. You've also helped negotiate contracts and do all that with the U.S. Army, amongst other things. I love it. Can you tell us a little bit more about what makes Michael Michael?
Okay, I'm 69 years old now, and happy to have lived a good life as a Christian. For the past 40 years, I have been an engineer and a management consulting, helping 3 companies win the National Quality Award. Today I have been a Christian author. I am ministry trained and deal with everyone I meet. I have been married for many years. We are parents of 4 beautiful, talented, and wonderful daughters. They, along with our God and Lord Jesus, provide all of my motivation and comfort. Now I'm concentrating on 3 things. Staying close to Lord Jesus is the first. The second is staying close to my family and friends. And third is publishing 4 books I have written. My time is focused on Christian needs and loving communications to all people around me.
I love that. I love that. What a beautiful way to express that. Now, this book that you've written, How to Find a Good Companion, why did you write that book? Why did you feel that now was the time to put this book out?
Well, my book is to help everyone unmarried to be motivated. I think they all are special people. I have identified ways to help them have a long-term relationship with their best soulmate. I am motivated to have my current marriage. I believe in romantic love as a basis for a special spouse. I married my current wife after I went through 14 years with another wife who I had a hard time with. From my current wife, I learned a lot about finding a good companion, which I put in this book.
And you are so right. Finding that perfect person is so important. You can get so much done when you are paired correctly. You're right about that. Now, the subtitle of your book, which I'm sure gets a good chuckle out of everyone, even among those who have been picked over, called out, damaged, dumped, and left for dead. I love that part. Why did you choose to make that part kind of humorous, if you will?
That's a good question. Many people have thought this book is not serious, but it is. The positive title is How to Find a Good Companion. The negative part of the title, which you asked the question about, is even among those who have been picked over, called out, damaged, dumped, and left for dead. Now, those negative actions from this are laughed at by some, but they are not a joke and not funny. They are serious and common for couples. When an unmarried dating person is treated this way, it can lead to their failure and their leaving the relationship. I've known some married couples acting this way and creating a distance between them and possibly leading to a divorce.
Now, there are so many people in the world, unfortunately, that have experienced a divorce. Of course, becoming a widow is much different than being divorced in that the person is no longer with us versus the person still being even perhaps in your community. For someone who is single, again, is this book appropriate for them as well, or just for those who are single, unmarried?
Well, I've been married 34 years now. I'm going to stay married for the rest of my life. Wife Brenda and I had bad relationships in our first marriage, which led to our divorces to them. Today, our marriage is really special for us and is being close to our 4 daughters. Now, why are we married? I'm married because it's one of 3 top goals I have in my life. I have some big reasons for my marriage. The first one is my heart was filled with marriage as a teenager, and it has continued all the way to today. The second one is I looked for a wonderful friend and found Brenda and married her. And my third one for being married, I'm happy to have 4 daughters and to continue the Lewis family. And the fourth one, for all of this, I am lucky to be close to God and Jesus, who wanted me married. Being close to God and Jesus is another of the 3 top goals in my life. Many single people want to be married, but are having trouble making it happen. Marriage is available for all people, those never married before, those divorced, and widowed individual. I hope some of them can find a way to get married from my book. Did that answer your question?
It did. I love it. Thank you for that. Very insightful. Now, does the age of the person, and this is because I like how you listed all of the types of people, the different ways in which it may be appropriate. Does the age of the reader matter? If this is a 25-year-old person versus someone who perhaps is a little closer in age than I am. Let's say they're in their 50s or so. Are both of those groups of people a great person to pick up your book?
Oh, yeah. Anybody at any age is eligible to be married. It's just a matter of them finding the right person and working together to have a good marriage. And that's for the ones who have never been married before, the ones who have been married and divorced, and for the one who lost their spouse to death.
Now, for so many people, having a family is really important. It is one of the reasons in which they get married in the first place. Did you want to have children and create a family? Was that one of your motivating reasons for being married?
Oh, yes. That was one, I think number 3 that I mentioned there on the 4th reason for being married. I have children that are the 3rd serious goal in my life. I've mentioned 3 of them now. I wanted to have children to start a family. My ancestors go way back. I have knowledge of about 7 great Lewis grandfathers, and I have known dozens and dozens of relatives in my family. They are all wonderful people.
That is so important, and you are so right. My aunt, that was the family historian, has passed on, and I have taken up that mantle, and it is a beautiful thing to be able to find out members of your family and to be able to learn more about them. We have been able to go back to my 13th great grandfather. So that is a beautiful thing. I have to agree with you, just to see how important family is to even those we did not know. I agree with you there. Now, it is almost time for us to go to break. But before we do, could you remind everyone, please, what is the title of your book and where can we pick up a copy?
The title of my book is How to Find a Good Companion, even among those who have been picked over, culled out, damaged, dumped, and left for dead. Now, that book is available on I have a website called Jesus and My Books is the title of that website, and it has a connection to Amazon to buy one of these books on that website. So that's possible.
All righty. Well, now, listeners, you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Sparker, Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butts-Chester. My guest today is Michael Lewis, and we're talking about his book, How to Find a Good Companion. And I think that that's something that everyone wants to be able to do. Now, Michael, one of the things that you mentioned that's important, I think, to most people when they're getting married is that they want to be able to create a family of their own, to have children. You've mentioned that you were married before. You're currently in a very happy marriage. Congratulations with that. How was when you first started out to make children with your first wife, how did you create that environment? Was that something that you were both on the same page with?
Yes, my children have been given to me by God in Jesus, and that has a lot to do with us getting along and loving each other. My 2 children from my first marriage are among the top 3 goals in my life that I mentioned a little while ago. They are doing great in spite of being moved around so much by their mother. Their mother moved them from my hometown, Kingsport, Tennessee, 120 miles down to Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where her mom and dad live. She went down there because she went back to the University of Tennessee, where she had a degree to begin with, and she sought a different degree. And she spent 2 years doing that. I went down every other Friday night and picked them up and brought them home and took them back on Sunday. That lasted 2 years. Then she moved to Atlanta to get a job. And she stayed down there 2 years. Now, what I had to do there is go down one Saturday a month to see them in Atlanta. Then she moved, after 2 years there, to Tampa, Florida. And in Tampa, Florida was a lot harder for me to get to. So I would go to Tampa for a weekend 4 times a year. And their mother worked there 2 years. Everything was in twos. And moved to Columbus, Ohio, which was closer for me up there. And she worked up there for 2 years. I went up there about once a month to see them. And then she moved to Orlando, Florida. Now, in Orlando, Florida, I went down there about twice a year. They were grown at that point in time. And I did the best I could to visit them, to send cards to them, and phone them. They have always been close to me and love me. We still communicate and stay close together each week.
I can see how that was very much a tough go at it. With all of the moving all over. But I do applaud you both for figuring out how to make it work. It may have been difficult, but you figured out how to make it work. And I think that's important, to make sure that the kids were okay and understood that they were truly loved. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Now, so many people, when they get married, they're getting married, unfortunately, for the wrong reason. They want to have a wedding. Like, they're not really into the marriage. They really just wanted to have a wedding. Some people are thinking that if they get married, it will fix that hole in their heart that someone else put there. And others will say, well, I want to have a covenant marriage. I want to have a marriage where they understand that God is important and we are a part of a bigger construct of what God has put on earth. What do you think is the importance, or how do we bring God, how do we bring Jesus Christ into our marriage? How do we make sure that our faith has an impact on our marriage?
God and Jesus have an influence on all of us getting married. God impacts us to have marriage for our life. He started our marriage when time began. In the beginning, God started with Adam and Eve, if you remember, in the Garden of Eden, with lifetime love in their hearts for each other. There are similar stories to Noah and his ark, and his wife and kids and the grandkids. God gave them, everyone, the ability to have children. Our children greatly influence our population. God and Jesus today have a strong impact on all of us by filling our hearts with love. That's how we survive. That's how we are. Now, I have looked at the 2019 U.S. Census Bureau data. Our total population in the United States is 331 million people. 240 of those million are eligible for marriage. 130 of those 240 million are actually married, 54%, leaving 110, 46%, not married. Not married meaning never married, divorced, or widowed. But God and Jesus have set us all up to have love in our hearts, or there wouldn't be any people left in the world. So you have to give them a lot of credits for what they've done.
And I love the numbers there that give folks some hope when they say, I just don't know if my spouse is out there. The numbers are large enough. Yep, your spouse is out there. God will definitely send them your way. Now, for so many marriages, for so many people, there's different understandings of what it means to be married. Some people believe that you should be married to one person. Some people believe that you could be married to numerous people. Some folks think that you should have an open marriage. Some believe it should be more of a closed, singular marriage. What do you think God's intention for marriage was, or how do you explain that or deal with that in your book?
Yes, different couples act differently. We are all different. All individuals in couples are different matchups. Good matchups work well with couples. Bad matchups don't work well. In that situation where someone is dating, there are two individuals, and it ends when it's not working well. Marriage with a bad matchup creates distance for couples or causes divorce. Now, then there's this question about close marriage. I have been familiar with the term close marriage or even open marriage. I finally decided that a closed marriage keeps a relationship warmly focused on each other. If one side goes against the other, it hurts the marriage. I hope my book defines how to leave a close marriage, how to have a close marriage, not leave it, how to have it.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there, that if you are someone who wants a closed marriage, you have to make sure that you pick a partner that also wants a closed marriage and not someone who wants an open marriage. That is definitely not going to be the correct pairing. Thank you for that reminder. Now, how important is love? And having and holding on to that love in our hearts for a good marriage?
Love in our heart is something that's wonderful. It has to be there. It determines how we live. It is absolutely important for a good life. I say love in our heart is critical. God and Jesus put it there for all of us. The love in our heart determines several things, but the ones I have a handle on is how we feel, how we act, how we do things, how we treat our friends, and mostly how we treat our spouse.
Hmm. Now, as a pastoral counselor, I definitely help people that are looking to make sure that they maintain a proper, if you will, closed marriage, meaning that they're constantly growing together and not growing apart, that they are mindful of their spouse and the things that help to make them tick. Marriage enrichment, if you will. My next question is kind of dealing with that aspect of improvement. How important is it to make sure that we are ever improving and working together as a couple in one's marriage?
How important is what now?
Working together, the improvement.
Okay.
Should we work towards improvement?
Yes. How can we live well in our marriage? Let me read 6 of my principles for marriage, if I can. The first one is, when your marriage starts and goes forward, it has things changing that you must handle with good acceptance. The second one, keeping your spouse as your most important friend among everyone. The third one, when your spouse has a need, you need to do your most in helping. The fourth one, when your spouse has success, you need to be happy for it. The fifth one, when your spouse has a problem, you need to help with it. And the last one, the sixth one, you should always notice the situation and be ready to react well. So those are the things I think cause us to be a good spouse, is following those rules.
Oh, wow. Those are great rules. You know, I think for so many marriages, the reason why they aren't successful is unfortunately because people are not putting in the work to make sure that they are successful. You know, I think they kind of get up, eat, go to work, come home, shower, eat, go to sleep, you know, and just kind of, they just stay on this rat wheel. They forget about, loving and nurturing the other person. You mentioned some great corners there. Great stuff. Now we have about a minute left in the program. So I wanted to just give you an opportunity, if you will, to leave just that nugget of wisdom, or a tip that you think that before we leave the show today, you want to make sure that our listeners receive.
There'll be some confusion and think that the 8 people covered in my book are important examples for us, and they think that they're real. But they're not real. They have real characteristics and behaviors. One of them is a lot like some of my friends, each one of them. You will understand these people when you read my book about them. Now, I'll just repeat again what I said earlier. I have a website. It's the one that's worded Jesus in My Books. The order is only $8.99. And if you go to that website, you can go through Amazon to get you a book. But I hope you had a good time listening, and I'm glad that you were here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well for being on today. Thank you. Listeners, we want to, of course, thank you for spending time with us as well. As always, may the Lord continue to shine His face upon you. May you receive His grace and His mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.